Hello, it's Thursday. Now, if you are anything like me, for the last week you have been unable to escape images of this tiny little anglerfish swimming towards the surface to see the sun, right? And I need to process these images a little bit. So this week we are going to be making a little anglerfish so that I can have one sitting on my windowsill, always able to see the sun. I need this. Now, we were supposed to be making a dragon this week. Don't worry, guys, that's just going to be next week instead now. Let's get into tools and materials. Okay, let's talk tools and materials. So for today's project, you're going to need 8-ply 100% acrylic yarn in a couple of different colors. So the colors you're going to need are fins, body, lower jaw, teeth, and light bulb. So these are the colors I'm using today, but you can absolutely only use one color for these three and one color for these two if you would prefer. You're also going to need a pair of 20mm safety eyes, your 3.5mm hook, pins and needles, scissors, and some stuffing. But that's it. A written version of today's pattern will be made available on Etsy and will also be made available on Patreon, and I will leave links to both in the description down below for anybody who is interested. Okay, so to make our little fishy today, we are going to start in our main body color, and we're going to be making this main piece. We start in the middle of the mouth, then work out to create the teeth before creating the cone of the body. I was originally planning on making her purple, but I don't know, something about the teals just really appealed to me. They were appealing teals. Grabbing our yarn, we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. Like so. In row 2, we're going to do 3 repeats of a single crochet. That's the single crochet. And then 3 single crochet into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3. So there's our first repeat, and we're going to do that 2 more times to get back to the start of our round. Row 3 is then 3 repeats of 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then a single crochet to bring you up to 18 stitches in your round. You helping, buddy? You want to hold this for me? Thank you. Row 4 is 3 repeats of 3 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 2 single crochet to bring you up to 24 stitches in your round. And row 5 is 3 repeats of 4 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and 3 single crochet to bring you up to 30 stitches in your round. And for row 6, we're going to cap that off by just working 30 single crochet around. Like so. So there we are at the end of row 6. We have 30 stitches in our round, and your work should be like this rounded triangle type shape. And if you were curious about orientation, the side that we're currently working along is the underside of the jaw, and this is the top of the mouth here. And that's all important because in row 7, we are going to be building teeth. Make sure that you have the color you want to use for your teeth handy, and for me, that's going to be white. Though, honestly, I don't think there are any wrong answers here. So to start row 7, we're going to work 8 single crochet up and around that lower jaw, changing to our white in the 8th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this next one is our 8th. So we're going to work a color change. There aren't many in this particular pattern, but you will need to do this a couple of times. So all you do is insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over with your existing color, and pull up a loop. So you've got 2 loops on your hook. Then hold that color out of the way, grabbing a strand of the color you're changing to, and pinch that at the base of the stitch on the inside of the work. Then yarn over with it and pull it through the 2 loops on your hook, completing the stitch. And you can just tug on your tails here to settle that stitch down into place. And that should leave you with a finished stitch in your main color, but your new color is on your hook, ready to go. And to secure this in place, you can just take a little moment and knot these off. I'm just doing a real simple little double knot there. Now you absolutely could carry your green across if you wanted to. I am just going to trim mine off today. So you could absolutely just carry that green around with you if you wanted to, but I'm just going to reattach. We will be reattaching it before the end of the row. Okay, so my white is on my hook and we are ready to make some teeth. So the teeth we're going to work in the back loops only. So looking down at the stitches, making sure you're on camera, you'll see that each stitch has 2 loops on top. And when you're just regularly stitching, you normally insert your hook through both of them. But there is one on the side facing you, that's the front loop, and you have one on the side facing away from you, and that's the back loop. So every stitch that we're going to work in white, we're going to be working in the back loops only. So let's make our first tooth. We're going to start with a slip stitch, then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to pull that final one really tightly because it's like the very tip of our tooth, the whole tooth and nothing but the tooth. We're going to turn, starting in the second chain from our hook, work 3 slip stitches down those chains. So 1, 2, 3. Then to lock that tooth in place, we're going to work a slip stitch into the next back loop around. So there is our first tooth. It should have only used 2 stitches of our round, though it can look a little bit like it's using 3. So feel free to mark those 2 front loops that we haven't used yet if that's going to help you find them later. And we need to repeat that 6 more times until we have 7 teeth made. Like so, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we have, sorry to bamboozle you, but we have 1 more tooth to do. So we're going to slip stitch, work the tooth. So chain 4, turn, and 3 slip stitches down the chains. 2, 3. And in the final stitch, we are going to work a single crochet in the back loop only, changing back to our green. It's exactly the same way as we worked that first color change. Like so. And once again, I'm just going to tie these two ends together to lock it in place. And you can trim off your white. We are done with it for this piece. You will need it again later though. We have more teeth to do. So you can see that's left us pretty close to the end of our row, but we're not quite there yet. So going back to working through both loops of our stitch, we're going to work 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there we are at the end of row 7. We've got our line of teeth. This is the inside of the mouth right here, so they will curve out and down, but the real magic happens in the next row. And you should still have 30 stitches in your round because none of these teeth have added stitches to the round. They've just added kind of like little bobbly bits that are going to stick out between the stitches of the next row. So row 8 starts with 8 single crochet through both loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the next stitch we're looking at should be this little white slip stitch. And we're going to work this next sequence of stitches by inserting our hook underneath the front loop that we didn't use last row and under the slip stitch that we worked. So we're going to work 16 single crochet over the top of the teeth stitches. So there is 1. I'm going to fold the tooth forward so that it's going to end up poking outwards and work my stitch behind it. That's 2. 3. There should basically be room for 2 single crochet between each of the teeth. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and the last one should fall on the outside of that tooth, 16. So your teeth should stick out between those stitches, like so. You can give them a little bit of a tug just to help them, but I suggest don't worry too much right now if they're a little higgledy-piggledy, just because you'll straighten them all out after everything's sewn together. That is basically what that looks like. So that's it from the front. And from the back, you can't really tell what was going on. They're super sneaky teeth. Chomp, chomp. Yeah. Rah. So we just need to finish the row now, and it is 6 single crochet back to the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. Once again, you should still have 30 stitches in your round. Now, if for some reason you find you can't fit 2 stitches between your teeth, there's a couple of reasons why that could have happened. And you don't want to frog all the way back and redo your teeth. Chuck an increase in between the teeth. And then if you need to, put a decrease at the end of the row. It's a very forgiving row. This bit here will be covered over when we sew the lower jaw. So if there's a slight pucker from a decrease, no one's going to mind. And an increase between the teeth, you won't even notice it. You won't even notice it. So that's how I would correct this row if you're finding that row count isn't turning out quite right. Okay, so that means that we have finished the inside of the mouth, but now we need to convert to working up the outside cone of the fish. So to do that, we need to do one of my favorite tricks. If you've been here before, you probably have seen me do it. And that is we're going to work some back post single crochet. So once again, as a reminder, we normally work our stitches by inserting our hook through the loops at the top of the stitch. But each stitch also has a little post, like a little foundation that it sits upon. And when you're working post single crochet, you are working around the post instead of through the loops. Now, these stitches are back post single crochet. That means we insert our hook from the back of the stitch around the post, back to the back of the stitch. So that's what it looks like from the front. The hook sticking out at the back. Then you yarn over your hook, pull up a loop, and otherwise work the single crochet normally. Now, how to tell which stitch you should work around first? All you do is you insert your hook through the loops that you would work through normally if the pattern you were following wasn't unnecessarily punitive. And what you do is you just find that set of loops and you follow it forward and down, and that is the first post you work around. Not this one here, it's this one here. So there we go. And we're going to just work 30 of those the whole way around. So that's 1 around each post. 2, 3, 18, 19, 28, 29, pop that out because it's getting in the way, 30. So that's at the end of row 9. You'll see what that row has done is kind of curled our work in on itself. Yours might have curled the opposite way. And if it has, just poke it on in. We want concave, not convex, because that is the inside of the mouth. And don't worry too much if your teeth look very like tucked in at the moment. You'll note that mine do as well. When we finish working this piece up, they'll stick out at the appropriate angle. It's just they're a little tucked in at the moment, just a scooch. So making sure that you can identify all 30 stitches in your round, we are going to now work 2 rows of 30 single crochet for a combined total of 60 stitches. And 60. So we've got something here looking like it's out of the movie Teeth, but if you find those back post single crochet that we stitched around before and you fold it so that they are the edge, you'll see that all we've done is we've built up the inside of the mouth and then like doubled back to start working up the body. And there's no real tricks from this point onwards. We're just going to be building up like the main head. So for row 12, we're going to work 3 repeats of 7 single crochet. Then an increase, and then 2 single crochet, 1 and 2. So there is our first repeat, and we're going to do that 2 more times around to bring our row up to 33 stitches. Like so. and then 2 rows of 33 single crochet around for a combined total of 66 stitches. Now for anyone wondering why I give a combined total, that's just because sometimes it's easier to count to one big number than it is to count to a smaller number twice. At least for me. Like so, and you might need to just like set your lip line again, but I wouldn't worry about keeping it perfect throughout this process. That was just more so you understood the topology of what we were doing. Okay, so in row 15, we're going to start narrowing off into like the tail section of the fish. So we're going to start by working 6 decreases. And I work invisible decreases, but standard decreases are also fine for this particular pattern. It's just a matter of preference. So it's 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're then going to work 17 single crochet up and around the top. 2, 3, 15, 16, 17. And then we're going to finish the row with 2 decreases. 1 and 2. Row 16 starts with 10 single crochet. Then 3 repeats of a decrease and a single crochet. So there's 1, decrease, single crochet, that's 2, and decrease, single crochet, that's 3. Then it's 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. At this point we are going to stop and pop our eyes in, so if you'll excuse me there. I'm keeping careful watch this whole time. So we've just worked row 16 and the eyes go into row 12. Rather than trying to count forward from the starting point, it's a little easier to count back from the row we've just done. So that was just 16, 15, 14, 13. And I'll pop one in there, kind of in line with like the 3rd and 4th tooth when counting from the right. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. So 16, 15, 14, 13. Let's see, approximately there. Now, technically smaller eyes is more realistic, but I really want her to be able to see the sunshine as much as she likes, which has just required a slight modification to the giant eyes. And you'll see there I have left 4 visible stitches between my eyes, but that number might vary depending on the size eyes you're using. That is the location of mine, and we're going to snap those backs on. Just flip it in the wrong way. These ones never make clicky sounds, I'm sorry to disappoint. Oh, never mind. That wasn't half bad. Of course, now I've popped them on, I'll discover that they're horribly crooked, and it's just the way. It's just the way I make things. So with that taken care of, we can move into row 17. So row 17 is a single crochet, a decrease, 2 single crochet, then 2 repeats of a decrease, then 5 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's our first one, and we're going to do that again. Decrease, which should fall roughly between those eyes, and 5 single crochet. This leaves us with just 3 stitches left in our round, and we're going to work a decrease, and then I'm so sorry. And then we're going to work a front post single crochet. So we've done back post before, so we understand working around the posts, but previously we were working from the back, around the post, back to the back, but this time we're doing front post single crochet, which means we're working from the front, around the post, back to the front. It is otherwise the same kind of stitch. So there we are, one little front post stitch to finish off our round. And that should leave you with 18 stitches. In row 18, we are going to work 6 more front post single crochet. And I will just say that while these are adding a little bit of shaping to the body, they are not crucial for the success of this pattern. So if you find that you don't really enjoy working front post single crochet, you can skip these ones and just replace it with regular single crochet. 4, 5, and 6. So that is what that looks like. We're then just going to work 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, bringing us just off to one side at the top of the head. And we're going to work a single crochet 3 together, which is basically just a decrease over 3 stitches. And you can work that the standard way of just inserting your hook through each of the stitches and pulling up a loop until you have 4 loops on your hook, yarning over and pulling through all 4 loops. Perfectly fine. Or you can do it the invisible way, which is how I do my decreases. And that is just use your hook to pick up the front loops only of the next 3 stitches. You yarn over and you pull up a loop through all 3, leaving you with just 2 loops on your hook. Then you yarn over and complete your single crochet 3 together. And it's just a little, turns out just a little bit smaller. It's a preference thing, either way is fine. It is then just 6 single crochet back to the start of our round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we haven't stuffed yet. I am leaving that till quite late in this particular pattern. You can absolutely go rogue and stuff whenever you like. We'll be stuffing in just a moment. Then row 19 is just 8 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, and then 5 single crochet to get our round down to 14. So that's down to 14. And row 20 is 7 single crochet, a single crochet 3 together, and 5 single crochet to get our round down to 12. And down to 12. So at this point we are going to stuff, and we're going to stuff very, very carefully because we don't want this mouth to poke outwards. See, it looks wrong. So we're going to stuff very, very carefully, basically just into the top part of this head and into this little bulb of the body. And I'm going to physically hold that mouth inwards as I stuff. And then I'm going to go looking for my stuffing because I seem to have misplaced it. Hold on. It's really not very much stuffing at all. So row 21 is 12 single crochet around. 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. This is your last chance to add any stuffing if you would like to. I'm going to add just a little bit more. And then row 22 is 6 decreases. And finish off. So this will leave you with a slight opening at the base of your tail. And we're going to use our remaining yarn and we're going to pull it through the front loops only of those 6 remaining stitches. Like so, and pull it tight to close. Just tuck that end away inside. Okay, so there is our main body piece. And basically everything else we're doing is just to decorate this piece because this piece is doing a lot of the work for us. So pop that to one side for now and we're going to make the little lower jaw. But whose jaw is it? That's horrid. Don't do that again. Okay, for the lower jaw, I am making mine mainly in grey with white for the teeth. Why? I don't know. It just feels right to me. Like I really did expect this little fish to be purple when I made the finished one, and then here I am just using greens for it. So starting in our grey, we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. And then we're just going to work up the inside of the jaw, very similar to how we worked up the face. Then row 2 is 3 repeats of a single crochet, and then 3 single crochet all into the same stitch. There's our first one. We're going to do that 2 more times to get our row up to 12. Like so. Now this should all feel familiar to you because this is basically how the main piece started as well. So row 3 is 3 repeats of 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then a single crochet to get us up to 18. Row 4 is 3 repeats of 3 single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, and then 2 single crochet to get us up to 24. And then row 5 is 3 repeats of 4 single crochet, an increase, and then 3 single crochet, which will bring your round up to 27. Don't let that increase trip you up. There we are. It's our little Dorito type corn chip. It should fit really nicely over the opening we have there for the mouth. And in the next row, we are going to be making more teeth. And thankfully these teeth are done the exact same way as we did for the main piece. So we're going to start by working 6 single crochet in our grey, changing to our white. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5, and in the 6th we'll change colors. So there's my white attached, and once again you can just carry your grey under, but I'm going to trim mine off and reattach it later. Working in the back loops only, we are going to work 7 repeats of a slip stitch, chain 4, 3 slip stitches down the chains, and slip stitch into the next stitch around. Now, once again, you can mark your front loops if that's going to be helpful to you in the next row, but otherwise I want you to do what we've just done there 6 more times until you have 7 teeth. So there we go, that's my 7 repeats there, which leaves us with 7 teeth. And just like with the other piece, we need to make an eighth tooth. That's an 8th tooth. That's surprisingly hard to say. And just like with the main piece, we're going to work 1 more tooth. So slip stitch, chain 4, 3 slip stitches down the chain, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to single crochet in the back loop only, changing back to our grey, or whatever colour you're using for your jewel. And you can trim off your white at this point. We are done with it for this pattern, unless you're going to also use it for your light bulb. Okay, so now working in our grey, we're going back to working through both loops of our stitch. We're just going to work 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's what we currently look like at the end of row 6. And row 7 will be familiar again. We're going to start with 6 single crochet. Which should bring us up to the start of our white stitches. And we'll once again be inserting our hook through the front loop underneath that row of white slip stitches. And working 16 single crochet in total. So that's 1, folding our teeth forward, and then 2 between each tooth. And then 2 between each tooth. 8th tooth, 2 between each tooth. These aren't teeth twisters, they're tongue twisters. That's 3. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, and then 5 single crochet back to the start of our round. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once again, this is the inside of the mouth that we've just done. And we've got these teeth, which you can give a little tug to just to help them straighten up a little bit. But again, I wouldn't worry about it too much at this point, because as we manhandle the pieces, they're going to get a little bit scrunched. That is going to fit basically there. Chomp. Like very handsome. Chomp, chomp, chomp. So we just need to make like the other side of this piece now. And in order to do so, we are going to work 27 back post single crochet around. So that's just like we did for the main piece. 24, 25, 26, and 27. Row 9 is 27 single crochet around. 5, 26, 27. And at this point, what you should do is fold that opening over so that that row of back post single crochet loops that we left free form the edge around the edge of the mouth. because just like with the main piece, this piece is also doubled over. So that's where we started. It's a side view, and this is where we're now working to close off. So row 10 is 9 repeats of a single crochet and a decrease. So that's 1, and we're going to do that 8 more times around. Like so. That should leave you with just 18 stitches in your round. So we're going to do 6 more repeats of a single crochet and a decrease to get us down to 12 stitches. And finally, we're going to work 6 decreases around to finish closing off this opening. And finish off. Now, just like we did for the main piece, we're going to weave our tail around to close off this last remaining gap. Tuck that end away inside. Now, this piece was designed to be reversible to a certain degree. So I make no secret of the fact that when I start, my stitches are a lot neater than what they look like when they finish. So you can easily have this facing so that your finishing off point is on the outside. Or if you're like me and your starting stitches are neater, you can just sort of flip it back in the other way, and you can pretty much get away with it. So then that will go here. We're just going to try it on for size. Oh yeah. Milady, your jaw becomes you. Okay, so now what we have to do is some fins, and a light bulb, but the light bulb can wait. We're going to do some fins. So these fins, funnily enough, have all been based pretty heavily on the construction method we used to make Mr. Bones' hands and feet. So shout out to Mr. Bones, I guess. These are fairly lacy pieces, so you can get away with using kind of a stronger colour. So we're going to make 4 different types of fin, but it's going to be like playing spot the difference to try and work out what stitches we're actually doing that are different between them. We're going to start with the tail, so I want you to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to turn, and starting in the second chain from your hook, work 5 single crochet back along. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're going to chain 4 and turn. So the first 3 kind of are there to take the place of a treble crochet, and then we're chaining 1 to be like the gap between the stitches. I'm going to just turn to finish that off. And that'll all make a little bit more sense when you see row 3, which is 4 repeats of a treble crochet, which is just you yarn over your hook twice, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, so that should leave you with 4 loops on your hook, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops at a time until you have just 1 loop remaining. So there is our treble, and we're going to chain 1. We're going to repeat that 3 more times across. So treble crochet in the next stitch, and then chain 1 between the stitches. We currently look like we've repeated that 4 times and we have 1 stitch left in our round. And we're going to just place a treble crochet into that. Then we're going to work a picot. And we haven't actually picoted yet this pattern, but a picot is where you chain 3 times. And I prefer to do 1 normal chain and then 2 really tight chains, and you slip stitch into the first chain that you did. So there is our picot, and we're going to turn our work. In row 4, we're going to work 5 repeats of a slip stitch and then a picot. So keep in mind that we are just skipping the chain gaps from the previous row. We are only working slip stitches into the tops of those treble crochets. This is our first one. This is our second one. Third. Fourth. This is our final one, and it's going to look like it's sticking off the end, and that's fine. And then we're going to slip stitch again into the same stitch to lock that final picot in place and finish off. Leave a longish tail so that we can weave it back down the edge and hide it against the body. But there is your tail piece. As mentioned, it's quite a lacy little flipper. So that's our tail done. Next up, let's do the top fin. So the top fin, we start by chaining 6. And then we turn and start in the second chain from our hook. We work a single crochet, chain 1. Then we're working 3 repeats of double crochet and a chain 1. So a double crochet is when you yarn over your hook once, insert your hook through the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2, and yarn over and pull through the next 2. So there's our double crochet and our chain 1. So there is our first. We're going to do that 2 more times. Double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, chain 1. Then in the final chain, we are going to work a single crochet, what we currently look like, and then we're going to picot to turn again. Like so. So just like we did with the tail. We're now going to work 4 repeats of a slip stitch and then a picot across the top of the fin. Once again, we are not working into the chain gaps. We're working our slip stitches purely into the single crochet and double crochet from the previous row. So that's our 4th one, and we're just going to slip stitch into the final stitch. So that leaves you with 5 picots across the top and finish off. So there is our top fin. Okay, next we're going to make the side fins. So we start by chaining 6, turn, starting in the second chain from your hook, work 5 single crochet back across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and work a single crochet in the first stitch, then chain 1, and 3 repeats of a double crochet and a chain 1. So there's our first one, double crochet, chain 1, there's our second, and double crochet, chain 1 for our third. And we're going to work a single crochet into the final stitch of the row. Chain 1 and turn. In row 4, we are going to work 4 repeats of a slip stitch and a picot. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a slip stitch into the final stitch. Finish off. Okay, so for that fin there, you need to make 2 of them. Okay, so we've done tail, top fin, and side fins. We just have the bottom fin to go. We start once again with a chain 6, but this one here has got a little trick to it. So there is our 6. Okay, so there are our 6 chains, and we want to work our next stitch in the 5th chain from our hook. So that is this one here. It's the second chain we did, leaving just 1 other at the end. And into that 5th chain, we are going to work a double crochet. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet into the final chain. We're going to work a picot and turn. So that's a picot. And turn. Then we're going to work 2 repeats of a slip stitch and a picot. So that's 1. And that's 2. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain that we used to turn earlier. And finish off, once again leaving a longish tail so that we can weave it down and hide it away. In this case, I'm just going to wrap it around the stem of that stitch a few times. And there is our bottom fin. Okay, we have made a great many pieces so far, but we have just one more very important piece to make, and that is the dangle, the light. So I want you to start in your light bulb color, which you might use the same color as your teeth. I'm going to be using some pale yellow today. And we're going to start with a magic ring of 6. Like so. We're then going to work 2 rows of 6 single crochet for a combined total of 12 stitches, changing back to our main body color in the final stitch. So that's what we currently look like at the end of row 3. You can trim off your light bulb color at this point. We are done. So now continuing on in our green, we are going to work 6 front post single crochet around. Once again, you can substitute in single crochet if you prefer. Front post single crochet will give you better definition between the two colors though. 3, 4, 5, and 6. In row 5, we're going to work 2 single crochet, a decrease, and 2 single crochet, and 2, leaving us with just 5 stitches in our round. And we're going to work 2 rows of 5 single crochet around for a combined total of 10 stitches. Like so. Row 8. Row 8 is 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 2, 3, and then 2 decreases, sorry guys, the dangle's got to curve, so it's 1 and 2, so that should leave you still with 5 stitches in your round. Then row 9 is a single crochet, 3 single crochet into the same stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then a single crochet 3 together. Once again, leaving you with 5 stitches in your round. And then finally, row 10 starts with a decrease, 3 single crochet all into the same stitch, and then a decrease. And finish off. So we've made all of our pieces. All we have to do now is assemble. Okay, so to start with, we're going to grab our main fishy piece and our jaw. And having decided which side of the jaw you want to face outwards, I want you to pin the sides without teeth together. I think this could very cutely be modified to be like a little dice bag as well. A little coin purse. I don't know, do people still use coins? Now, keep in mind that you don't want your mouth to be firmly shut. You do want it to be like open a little bit. So find the angle that you think captures your fish. I think just slightly open is ideal here. That pin is not very sharp. So that's a little open. So when I sew it together, I'll probably sew it slightly further up. So, and we're just going to take a moment and sew those 2 pieces together. So I'm using my main body color to do this, but you could use your jaw color for it just as easily. There we go. Just remember, if you're ever unsure if your anglerfish is happy or not, all you have to do is turn it upside down. And look at that big toothy grin. You ever heard the expression you wear your frown upside down? Well, these guys wear their smiles upside down. Okay, so next up we are going to pin the little dangle, and that's going to go at the very top, the apex of the head, centered between the eyes but kind of just behind them. And just because these are quite small pieces, I think we'll just pin the rest of the pieces on. Okay, so that's where the little dangly bit goes. Next I'm going to grab my underfin and facing that longest stitch towards the back, I'm just going to pin it into that little like underbelly area where there's a little dip upwards, making sure it's centered. Next we can grab our tail, which is the largest of our fins, and just pin it over the end of that body piece. Get you all dressed up for the ball, little lady. So there. I love how frilly these little pieces look. Next is the top piece, and you can face this either way you like. One side has a slightly longer stitch, I think, but it works either way. And you want to fit that piece along the top of the head. It looks like I'm going to have to move my light piece forward a little bit, and that's good. That's why we should pin all of our pieces on first. So make sure everything fits. Okay, so that's where that's going to go. And we'll move our light forward a little bit. It's a very enlightening experience. Throw that pin away. So that's what we currently look like. Finally, grab a side fin and pop one on each side. They go quite far back. I would line them up sort of behind where the light attaches. One last little frilly adornment for the ever lovely little Miss Plum. And yes, her name is still Miss Plum, even though we didn't end up making her purple. It suits her. There we go. Now don't judge me, but I think I'm going to go back and remake those side fins with the first 2 rows in my body color instead. I don't know, I don't think that actually really helps it all that much. I might just leave it the way that it is. Okay, cool. We just need to sew these pieces on. So there is our finished little Miss Plum, even if she's not purple. So thank you for indulging my flight of fancy for this particular pattern today. I really appreciate it. I promise that the dragon that was supposed to be this week will be next week. So for now, I just have the perfect spot on the windowsill for her, and we'll pop her there in just a moment. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.